Hello, hello. Good morning, friends. Hello. How is everybody this morning? Hope this on this blustery and rainy first day of fall. Good morning to you. I hope you are well and good and whole. Good morning, Karen. How are you? I should have guessed you would have known about Prudence Crandall being in Connecticut and all that. Like, I don't know. It kind of dawned on me afterwards. It's like, of course she does, but that's awesome. Hope you're doing well. Having a good day. Good morning, everybody. Happy fall. It is this first day of a new season and a new time. Morning, John. How are you? Hope you're doing all right. Hello, everybody. See a couple more folks coming in, and we'll get going here in a second. I hope you all are well and good. Good morning. Out of our usual spot today, and here at the front of the church, at the threshold, if you will. Hey, good morning, Linda. Glad you're here. Is Dottie there with you? Or I hope you're having a good day either way. I'm in the vestibule. I am actually at the threshold. Like we had. This is an inside joke. If you are not with us on a regular part of the deacons on a regular basis, we have a big. So there is the narthex, which is the place that you gather, and then there's the area before you get into the narthex, which is, and then the sanctuary after that. So there's this question about what is this, in Maine we'd call it a mudroom, but what do you call that entrance? Some people call it the portico, some people call it the vestibule. I kind of like, I think I kind of like the vestibule, so we're going to go with that. But I am at the threshold of the vestibule that leads to the narthex, beyond which is the sanctuary. How's that? Good morning, everybody. Hey, Vicky. I hope you're feeling better. Hope that you get some care there. All right, good morning, everybody. It is the 22nd day of September, the first day of fall. We are at the threshold of a new season, and we're going to talk about being in a new season today and what it is to be at the threshold of a thing. So this word threshold, this which is, if you get it, it's right where I'm standing. It is the place between places, that I am neither in the building nor am I out of the building, but I'm at the moment right in between before I get into the vestibule, and I'm not fully outside. In fact, it's raining out, but it's not getting me because I'm I am standing in the center. In the ancient church, throughout the Old Testament, when a building was dedicated, they would actually make a sacrifice to the dedication of the building, a foundation sacrifice. We do the same thing when we talk about the dedication of a cornerstone. Now, that's the living, the modern example of a very ancient practice, as old as we can go back, even before Bible itself. There were what is known as threshold sacrifices, and that instead of a cornerstone, there was a sacrifice made right at the threshold, right at the point where one would enter the building that is about to be constructed or be outside. That these thresholds are places of power, and in fact, for the ancient priesthood of Israel, the threshold was the place that the priests worked. They didn't stand up front with a pulpit. They didn't attend. They had other work within the temple, but that wasn't their primary function. Their primary function was actually to tend to the church right at the threshold, right at the place of the beginning, right at the place in which you entered the sacred. And in fact, I would submit to you that the world in which we find ourselves in 2022, that the greatest transformation, the greatest difference between us and between the church and the world and sort of thing, actually is the threshold. Is people actually crossing this threshold? That this, you might not know it, that it's actually not a very difficult walk. It's 4 whole steps to get through this, but to actually come through these doors, to come into the vestibule and then to the narthex and be greeted, and then to find your way into the sanctuary, is an amazingly long trip. It's an amazing transformation for people to do. If you don't know here, we have a hospitality ministry of baptism. We do a lot of baptisms here. We're known as a place that hosts baptisms for children that other traditions will not baptize. I can talk about that someday later, but to see the transformation of people when they walk across this threshold, when they cross this sacred place, that there's a real case to be made that the most sacred place in this entire building, and there are many, and the most beautiful place in this entire building, and there are many, is actually right where I'm standing. This threshold place, because it's the place of transformation. It's the place of change. It's the place where things are no longer as they were before. You don't believe me? Watch this. It's a different world, isn't it? It's a different contention. It's a different thing. Not only are we looking at something different, but we're actually moved in different ways. It's actually that if you spend your time looking at this and the lights that lead forward to the cross and to the word and to the pulpit itself, to lead into sacred space, there's a whole world that could unfold up there. There's a whole being that it could take place in terms of the sacredness, in terms of what might happen, in terms of what's before us. That standing at this threshold is, I think, perhaps the most powerful place that we find ourselves. Well, friends, it is September 22nd. It is this day of the first day of fall. That actually the fall begins at like 9 p.m. tonight. Is when that just after sundown is that perfect place where there's a perfect 12 hours of daylight. This is as close, and 12 hours of darkness. We are at that equinox place in which we begin the journey into darkness, where we begin the journey into and that things change. They are not as they used to be. I hope that you can take these rhythms of the external world, which are rhythms of our internal world. When Jesus, after the crucifixion, after the resurrection, even after meeting with the disciples for 40 days after the resurrection, at the beginning, the first chapter of the book of Acts, the beginning, the love letter to the creation of the church, that Luke writes. It begins with the words just before Jesus ascends into heaven, just before the ascension. These are really the last words that Christ says. He says, "It is not for you to know the times or the seasons that the Father has fixed by his own authority, but knowing." May not be up to us to know the time or the seasons that God will change things, but to know that there are seasons. That this notion of the change of seasons, this notion of standing at a threshold into a new place and a new time and a new way, is integral. It is at the core. It is what it is, really, to walk out this life. It is an experience. I had a psychologist friend of mine say once that we were just musing, just hanging out, and she said, and incredibly smart woman, and she just in many ways, life is really just a series of hellos and goodbyes. Life really is, at its heart of hearts, a journey of seasons, of a transition of seasons from one to the next to the next. And it's ours. The greatest things we can do is to live each season as we're in it, to fully embrace it. Henry David Thoreau says it this way. He says, live each season as it passes. Breathe the air. Drink the drink. Taste the fruit. Resign yourself to the influences of each. Now, the season you're in might be hard. Maybe you're in a season of loss. Maybe your heart's broken, and that season is just weeping. Is a season of sadness. And yet, even in the sadness, there is beauty. If nothing else, the testament of the beauty of the thing that is lost. Maybe you're in bad health. Maybe you're suffering in bad health. There is a way in which only those that have been through that can give themselves over to the care of God and can give themselves over to the appreciation and the beauty of what was, that every season within it, even, and this isn't silver cloud lining stuff. This is stuff that you can only know when you cross the threshold. Like, otherwise it just sounds like platitude. Otherwise it just sounds like, a bumper sticker or a Hallmark greeting card. But that when we step into the seasons of our life, genuinely step into them, we approach the holy. We approach the good and the true and the beautiful. Friends, there is a season unfolding for you right now. There's a season that you're in. There's a new season unfolding in the material world, but there's also an invitation every day to unfold to a new season in your life and the way in which it will unfold. These threshold places where things are other than we thought they would be can bring with them grief, because my gosh, summer is over and the descent into the darkness has begun. It can bring with them loss. It can bring with them hope. It can bring with them joy. That it is, for some of you people out there, pumpkin spice season. I don't understand you, but I know it's happening. There is all of this that's unfolding, and not just in the material world, but in our spiritual lives, in our walk with God, and in our walk in our world. My hope is that whatever threshold you find yourself crossing, whatever season you find yourself in, whatever place and new realm that you are entering into, you recognize the sacredness of it. You recognize that this, more than even the places up there or the things that you'll find in the season, the entry into it might be the very most sacred thing that you'll find. Yeah, we make a big deal of wedding anniversaries, but we make a bigger deal of weddings. Friends, you find yourself in a new season, in a new moment, right now. Take Thoreau's words at heart. Drink the drink. Taste the fruit. Even though at first blush it might be bitter, even though at first blush it might not be your favorite, but resign yourself to this is what has come, so that you can be and know the grace and the beauty of God in the midst of it. The book of James, remember, Jesus' brother. The book of James writes this. He gives it at the very beginning of his book that he's trying to inspire this little group, this little ragtag group of Christians that he's trying to hold together in Jerusalem, this little church that is being afflicted from every quarter and every bunch of people, and every people, they're being arrested, they're being persecuted, they're being beaten. He's trying to inspire his little group of Christ followers. And he writes this: every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. The seasons might change. The weather might be other than we would like it to be. The world might be different than what we would want it to be as it is. But in its embrace, we can find the unchanging God that loves us, that knows us, that welcomes us in to the holiness of the thresholds that we stand in, and that can use every season with the beauty and grace that God grants us every minute. That's the hope of what it is to stand at the threshold. And friends, if we can stand in that place, this is the real thing. If we can stand in that place, we can know this life as adventure. We can know what's going to happen in here, not in this scary way, not as a you're going to go to hell way, not as a oh my gosh, this is I don't know what's going on way. But we can know what goes on here in the beauty and the love and the strength of our encounter with God as this grand adventure of what's going to happen this fall, what's going to happen this season, what's going to happen when we cross this threshold, because this is the sacred place and the sacred times of our lives. All right, friends, my hope for you today, happy fall. Go get some pumpkin spice if you're a pumpkin spice person. Apple cider donut guy, that's kind of more my jam. And either way, I hope you know that you are loved, you are prayed for, and that no matter the threshold you cross these days, God's love and our love, our little community here, all your little digital faces staring at me, or you who are you skulkers in the back, hey there, all of you are loved powerfully in the season that is to come. Embrace it and know God's grace in it. We have a concert tomorrow, so if you're around at noontime, we have another organ concert right here, right behind me. And if not, we have worship on Sunday with the opportunity to come in sacrament and baptism. I hope you'll join us for any and all of those. Peace and grace, my friends, and we'll pick it up next week with another 11:11.